Thanks, everybody. Well, my name is Emiel. I'm with the Polkascan project, and we're going to give you a development update and even a live demo, so you can run your own block explorer for any Substrate instance. So that's exciting stuff. This is me. I'm Dutch. I'm from Rotterdam. Meetup organizer for the Ethereum ecosystem and the new Polkadot ecosystem. And I'm working on the Polkascan and Polkasource projects. Today, I'm going to give you a quick intro about Polkascan. I'll talk briefly about two of our products. We'll give you a live demo, and if there's time, perhaps we can go into some engagement. So, a while back, a few years back, I wanted to, start building a block explorer for the Ethereum ecosystem. And I think it was around DEFCON 3 when Energy Web Foundation, or one of its founding members, introduced the Tobalaba network, which was a POA implementation of an Ethereum virtual machine. And then two things, I guess I understood two things at that point, that there will be many chains, many implementations of EVMs, for example, and there will be industry-focused blockchains. So I started playing around with that idea. So now I have built that, that EVM block explorer for Ethereum virtual machines. How can I adapt that or generalize that a bit so I can make it compatible with the Kovan network or Tobalaba network or the POA network? And I guess it's about a year ago that ended up with the designs and the working prototype, which we called Web3Scan back then, for a MultiChain Explorer. And this is one of these screen designs that gives you access to multiple networks from one user interface. So it goes into all the typical stuff a block explorer goes into, like well, the block overview, and well, you can do all sorts of advanced stuff like gas utilization within a block or throughput computations. So you can get to all sorts of interesting types of information which you don't necessarily get out of a single node. And I think that is the true added value of a block explorer. And aggregation of data, counting what happens, and you can get all that sort of stuff. So then Polkadot happened, and then Substrate happened, and made us rethink our strategies. So these are a few of the predictions that have guided us along the way. There will be many chains, and there will be few frameworks that enable industry and community to build these chains. And all these chain implementers, well, they're doing all the advanced blockchain stuff, but there's lots of ecosystem stuff you need to do as well, like implementing your nodes, doing the service management of that, dealing with node upgrades, getting block explorers, getting data out. And our prediction is basically that there will be some sort of specialization. There will pop up some organizations or entities or companies that really got that nailed, how to do that. And I guess our bet is that communities, companies, stakeholders, stewards will happily delegate some of these tasks to these specialized companies. So we want to make multi-chain data accessible and understandable. That's easy enough to understand for everyone. Polkascan, our multi-chain explorer, is our product, and Web3Scan, well, that's basically the service provider that can provide all these services surrounding these block explorers. So, like I said, what is that data we are talking about? There is really basic data you can get out of a node, which blocks, transactions, accounts perhaps, but most of the interesting stuff is really hard to get out of a node. And with Substrate, things have been abstracted to such an extent that it actually gets a lot harder to get to all the really meaningful and useful data. semantics, indexes, aggregations, analysis, you name it, the whole list. It is actually, you need to put in some effort to produce these data types. And then there is not only a single node, you get many chains. So with a Polkadot universe, imagine in a year or in 2 years or in 3 years, we have a relay chain with 100 parachains. You not only need to run a single node, you need to run many nodes, and you need to run harvesting services and data production services on that. It will become more and more complicated to get to meaningful data. You can be selective. We choose to be generalized in that sense to provide tooling for that. So one image I like is if you have Genesis on one side and the chain tip on another side, what these third generation blockchain technologies actually bring us is some sort of notion of finality, that it is that things don't change anymore. It's not probabilistic finality, but it is an actual finality. So I think we positioned the brain on the left-hand side. We deal mostly with all the stuff that has been finalized. You get it once and you do all your calculations and analysis and aggregations on top of that. And that, what happens between the chain tip and finality, that's for the Polkadot JavaScript client, for example. So it differentiates the Polkascan Block Explorer from other initiatives that exist at this point. One exception maybe would be a transaction pool monitor, so you can actually track how long it took from a transaction that is broadcasted to the network to it actually being included into a finalized block or something. So we are working on 2 distinct products. We call them Polkascan PRE and Polkascan MC. So Polkascan PRE stands for Polkascan for a Polkadot runtime environment, which means that it is a block explorer for a single Polkadot runtime environment blockchain. Substrate enables you to build Polkadot runtime environment compatible blockchains. So this product, basically, if you run it, it should be compatible with any Substrate blockchain. Polkascan MC is the MultiChain Explorer, which is basically an entry point or gateway for many instances of Polkascan PRE. MC stands for multi-chain. So it would look kind of like this. You have multiple distinct different instances of Polkascan PRE for a single individual Polkadot runtime environment. And there is one instance of Polkascan MC. So polkascan.io, our website, it has at this point a hack together prototype. We'll be moving over to our new technology stack very soon, is an instance of Polkascan MC. So there are already a number of testnets running on Substrate. Example is the Alexander network, the Edgeworth testnet, the Robonomics testnet. There is the Joystream testnet. So I know for sure that for the first 3 we have compatibility at this point. I bet we have compatibility for the Joystream testnet as well, but we haven't tested it yet. So, but it should be really straightforward to run a block explorer for all these networks. And that's actually what we're going to show in a few minutes. Well, and there is one instance of Polkascan MC. And basically, it has a direct reference to all these instances of Polkascan PRE, and it harvests some of the data of the Polkascan PRE data into aggregation database, which would allow you, for example, to count all the transactions that happened on all the chains that are supported by the MultiChain Explorer. So if you have 100 transactions today on Alexander, there are 1,000 transactions on Edgeware, and 2 transactions on Robonomics. This database would, for example, count how many transactions happened in the entire ecosystem. So it's a level higher than the individual chain. Anything that is useful that goes beyond the scope of a individual blockchain. You get something like that. So our idea is to build a multi-chain explorer for such an entire Polkadot universe. Yeah. One generalized block explorer stack for Substrate, which is Polkascan PRE, gives us block explorers for all Polkadot ecosystem chains. Yeah. So now I'm going into Polkascan PRE, and then we're going to the demo. Basically, there is a data source, a harvester, some storage on our end, an API, and a user interface. We got a Web3 Foundation Wave 1 grant to make the Polkascan PRE product happen. This is our basic architecture. This is the technology we actually use for that. We have Substrate nodes. There is a Python harvester and some helper libraries. We've put quite some work in building that skill codec and a Substrate interface. And that helps us to get meaningful data out of the generalized Substrate endpoints. We put it all in a MySQL database. We are, at this point, kind of agnostic still what database management system we are going to use, but this has proven itself with our 10 terabyte Ethereum mainnet database. So we might want to stick with that. We're not sure yet. There is a Python RESTful JSON API interface, and there is an Angular single-page application user interface on top. And this is all open source, so the Polkadot ecosystem will have an open source block explorer. You can run yourself for any network from day one. These are some of the references. So our sister project Polkasource, which is the top one, we have them build our Substrate nodes. We have them build all the clients from source and get some generalized and some similarities between all the stuff we are building. So it all works in a similar way. We have a harvester application which harvests the data from the nodes. We have 2 helper libraries, the Substrate interface and the skill codec. These 2, the Substrate interface, we used to call it the RPC wrapper, which wraps around the Substrate RPC endpoints. But we went for this more generic name to allow for WebSocket abstraction as well. These 2 projects and code bases should be usable for any other Python-based application in this emerging ecosystem as well. Then we have the Explorer API that disseminates all the information we collect in our databases. And we have the UI, the Explorer GUI, which, well, kind of gives a user experience for these endpoints. Then finally, there is the Polkascan PRE application, which is a Docker Composer repository, which allows you to use a single command line command to actually run the Explorer for the networks we support, or if you hack around for any other network you want to get this working with. So our grant, the grant we got from Web3 Foundation gives us, we're doing 4 milestones for that. Our basic architecture, we are supporting system entities like the blocks, the extrinsics, the events, and the complete runtime decoding for it. We are going to support a number of key runtime entities like the accounts, balance transfers, I guess some contract modules. We'll go into validators and nominators to get that in the Explorer, and we'll do some performance optimizations to keep all the harvesting we do within the block time constraint. outside of the Web3 Foundation grant, we'll do some aggregation data so you can get daily statistics, weekly statistics, monthly statistics, and all the graphs and stuff. So basically, we'll use 1 month for each milestone. Don't pin us to that, but we are currently almost ready with our milestone 2, and that's what Arjan is going to present in a minute. So our priorities with the Polkadot runtime environment Polkascan product is to complete these 6 milestones and to onboard as many networks as possible. So if you're not with Robonomics, if you're not with Edgeware, and if you're not with Joystream, come talk to us, and we'll make sure that we get as much networks onboarded off the shelf. Our priorities with Polkascan MC are deploying our new front end, with which we should get a permanent presence on Polkascan.io with permanent references to each individual block, each individual extrinsic for each individual network, so we can serve as a reference for the ecosystem. We want to work on global registries, type registries, all these types that exist in the runtimes. It is kind of a challenge to know how these decompose into Rust primitives. We see a global registry, ecosystem registry for that. And one other registry would be an open contract source registry with ABIs to all the smart contracts that Sean and the team were talking about earlier. And I guess we could look at it being a monitor for the ecosystem to see what's happening on all these chains in the Polkadot universe. So look up these links for extra details, and Arjan is now going to do a live demo of our second milestone. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Hi, everybody. Let me close this. And it's time to get into the demo. First, I will show you like an already harvested network, so you have an idea what it will look like. So we've harvested the Alexander network. As you can see, it's up to 1 million plus blocks. Yeah, like the development is still in a very early stage. So what you see is like basically we have like extrinsic blocks, events, and we can decode all the extrinsics and events. But at this point, the system doesn't know exactly the meaning of all those entities. It can just show, for example, here you have a balance transfer which failed. Furthermore, you can click through. I hope to. All right. Let me see. Something goes wrong here. I think the demo gods are not pleased. Let me try to reconnect. Okay, here we go. So then again, here you have an overview of a block. Most blocks are not that interesting. They have a timestamp, and well, here you can see it also will scale for mobile. And you have an overview of the events that take place. So now I will use like the repository to build a new network. So first I'm going to spin up the Docker Compose for a local network. So it will just start like a vanilla Substrate node, but you can use every endpoint you want. So it like it initiates a MySQL database, everything from scratch. So I guess it already starts. So here I can access it. Here. So here you have like an explorer for the first 20 blocks. So what if I'm gonna spin it up for, so to say, edgeware? Can close this. And then I have a new Docker Compose file for that. Right, it's building containers, okay. All right, I guess it's already harvesting, so we can see some result. Okay, something went wrong with the coloring, but you can imagine a nice color for the Edgeware network, and here you can see all the blocks for that network. So here you can see that, like basically, you can connect it to any network you want, and in a few weeks we will add more and more features and more meaningful information. So I think that is it for the demo. I don't know if you have any questions at this point.
We'll take questions together. Yeah.
Hi, thank you for presentation. I'm Alex from JStream, and I was wondering, so you said that you created it for Ethereum, but maybe it's an answer, but did you think about using Explorer from Polkadot and extending it, improving it, something like this?
Yes, so you mean the Polkadot.js Explorer built by Jaco?
Yes.
Yes, well, we thought of that. They use a number of libraries. We actually had to rebuild in our Python code base for that. And that Explorer really has a different use. It really goes into the current state. It sends transactions. We really need to go into the previous states and harvest everything. I guess we could have used that technology stack, but yeah, we have chosen for Python because we have a number of developers available for that. I think it's useful for the ecosystem at the same time to have different implementations of the skill codec and a Substrate interface in different languages as well.
And what version of Angular you use?
What the reason is?
What version of Angular you use?
Latest.
4th?
No, 6.
Oh, okay, cool.
Anyone else? Is anyone implementing a Substrate chain? Come talk to us.
A couple of people.
Yeah.
I can add some more color to the answer about about the like Polkadot.js apps versus like that isn't really a blockchain explorer in the same sense that this is. Like it isn't harvesting data and doing a bunch of extra analysis and like essentially acting as an archive node of a Substrate node. Is more of just a UI to interact with it. And also I'm pretty sure that that app at least wasn't in the state that it is now when you started this project. So it's sort of like they didn't necessarily exist at the same time.
I think Jaco had a head start of about 2 months. So we are in close touch. And whenever I don't know what's happened to how Parity broke something, you know, I usually call Jaco and he tells me, there's a new metadata definition or whatever. So we're up to version 4 now, I believe, as of yesterday. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.